it's gonna ring now. He been fly, ain't a damn thing changed now. He elevated while they looking at him strange now. Gone, let it ring now. He in the game now. He's a ruler, I know he is gonna ring now. He been fly, ain't a damn thing changed now. He elevated while they looking at him strange now. Gone, let it ring now. Every time he show up, it's a frenzy, boy, just hold up. Check his wrists, yes, he's froze up, he's divine.
What's up, you guys? This is Qaysean, and I'm back with another podcast episode. I pray that you all are well and blessed. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that it resonates with you. I pray that you can get some great information and some gems from this and apply it to your life, and it makes your overall life increase in the greatest way possible. Thank you all for the love that I've been receiving for the podcast and how it has motivated you and inspired you in any way. That is the mission, and I am grateful for that. Today I am talking about making mistakes and learning lessons from them. And it's funny because I actually recorded this podcast. It's my third attempt at recording this podcast. And what seemed to have gotten in my way was not trying to make mistakes, trying to make sure that I say all the words correctly, and trying to make sure that I have great examples, and just trying to make sure that it's perfect for the listeners. And that's the whole point of this episode, and I'm living it out literally in real time as I am trying to create this episode, and being able to make mistakes and learning the lessons from them. Me trying to get everything right and I make a mistake, I also realize too that there is a lesson in even recording this podcast. Is my authentic self is enough. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be a grammatic scholar. Yes, I want to make sure that my words are clear. I want to make sure that I'm speaking properly and saying right words that people can understand, because I am on a verbal platform. So it's important, but being okay with sometimes not saying the words right, or being okay with sometimes my examples not hitting exactly the way I have it in my head. It's okay. It's the fact that I'm here. It's the fact that I'm speaking in this microphone. It's the fact that I am able to even dissect the fact that I'm trying not to make a mistake, so that way I could tell you about making mistakes and the lessons in them. So that was just literally a full circle moment on that. But yes, so the video is about being able to make mistakes and learning from them. And for me, my entire life, I've always tried to be perfect. Especially as a kid. And I think that's where it started at for me, because I have a disability, and for me, my performance was very important, because if I didn't cross all my T's and dot all my I's, I couldn't even meet up to normal standards. At least in my mind, that's the way I used to think about how my performance should be. And being even just moving in the industry of fashion and just making sure that every detail is on point, and getting so bent out of shape if something goes wrong. I just remember times where if I would make a dress and something may go wrong, or something may not fit correctly, sometimes it would feel like it's the end of the world. And that's before I shifted my perspective to looking for the good in everything. Because for a long time, I didn't know that everything that was working for me was working for everything that was happening to me was working for my greatest good. It was a point in my life where I didn't think like that. So when things didn't go right for me, I would think that it was the end of the world, or I wasn't good enough, or I was, all of these things that we say to ourselves, bad things that we say to ourselves. I wasn't aware of self-talk and negative self-talk, and how I was always doing that when things didn't go right. And even sometimes when things did go right, even when things didn't go right, but it didn't go in the way that I thought it would go, it wasn't perfect and it wasn't right. So it was just so much unpacking that I had to do over the years to understand why I thought the way I thought, and to just start to rewire my thought process. And one of those rewiring parts was just being able to make mistakes and learning the lessons from them. And when I shifted my perspective to knowing that everything that happens to me is happening for my greatest good, that included making mistakes as well. Because when when I made a mistake, I knew that, okay, this may not have gone right now. I may have messed this up, but what from this could I take away that can help me in the future? And sometimes you have to sit with things and ask yourself these questions, like, what is this that's happening to me right now? What could I extract from this to learn from this, so that way, A, I cannot do it again and not get this result, or B, maybe even tell someone else this, so that way they don't have to experience this either. So there's so many different things that can come from dissecting mistakes. But I just know from being a fashion designer and an entrepreneur, basically all my adult life, that if I had not made any mistakes, if everything was perfect, I would not have grown. And success isn't a linear path. As I'm sure a lot of you know, that to get to success is not a it's not a straight line. So if you think of a graph, and a graph with a point A to point B. A is your starting point, B is the success. It's not a straight line going in an upward trajectory. Sometimes your line is going to look like how the lines in the stock market looks on their graphs. Sometimes the point is going to go really high, and it's going to come really low, and it's going to go in the middle, and it's going to shoot up, and it's going to come back down. It's going to look wild to get to from A to B. And in those points, mistakes occur. Sometimes mistakes may occur when you're at your highest. Sometimes they may occur when you're at your lowest. But mistakes are pivotal parts of our success, because that's where we learn. That's where our instincts are put to the test. That's where our resilience is put to the test. And I know for me, whenever I make mistakes, I get a little excited, because I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to learn. Because sometimes, unless you put yourself to school and you're like actively looking for things to teach yourself about, there isn't a lot of things that stimulating your intelligence and helping you grow and learn. So whenever there are things that I don't know, or things that happen, I'm like, okay, I didn't know that was going to happen. I just now figured out that I just learned something. And that may strike another thought to learn the other part of what else I could do to not do that, or what else I can do, or why that happened. So making mistakes is okay. It's actually important, and it's vital. I said pivotal earlier. See, mistakes. It's okay. It's vital to your success. And I want you to be conscious, of course, of what you're doing, because you don't want to just be making mistakes just to be making mistakes that happens naturally, and you learn from them. That's good. But if there's a way to avoid making mistakes, definitely go that route. So getting mentors and getting around people, or just researching before you do some things, can help you minimize mistakes. But one thing about life is that it's not perfect in a sense of mistakes that are not going to happen. Because if you don't have mistakes, if everything just always worked out for the greatest good, really, would that be a fulfilling life? Like if you had a relationship and everything was just always perfect, and everything was just great, and everyone just agreed on everything, and no one had opposing thoughts or disagreements, and I know, and people may say like, oh, that's a little toxic. It's not. It's the difference between being toxic and just being negative and nasty, or just having opposing thoughts that may spark a debate, or just may spark just a conversation, or just differences. That's what makes us unique. And if you didn't have that same relationships, like that's an example, how amazing could that get? Like if there isn't friction, or there isn't that, it wouldn't be a balance. And with life, there has to be a balance. There is good and there is bad. There is ups, there is downs, there is dark, there is light, there is hot, there is cold. There is balances, and there is reasons why there is balances. Because if everything was all perfect, where would elevation be able to come in at? So I encourage you to allow mistakes to happen, embrace mistakes, because that's a place where innovation is birthed. That's where some of the most greatest creations are created. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, and sometimes, like for instance, like I was making a dress. This was a few years ago, and and I accidentally like knocked over these feathers. And one of the feathers fell on the dress. It didn't damage the dress or anything, but when it fell on the dress, I was like, oh my God, I love that. That's fire, actually. And, it just sparked a whole inspiration for this particular dress. So sometimes these things that we think are hiccups are just redirection, rerouting. And I was actually talking to a friend about that last night, and she was saying like, hiccups, literally what I just said, hiccups are like just redirection. It's like a reroute. And I was telling her, I was like, I agree with you on that, because as I stated earlier in this podcast, some people think success is or our plans are supposed to be what they are because we planned them. And God looks at us sometimes like, yeah, that's cute and all that you took the time to map all that out, but baby, we about to go a whole other route. It's gonna be good. You're gonna get to where you need to go. But I mean, it's not gonna probably look like the way you just wrote that out. That's cute though. You get an A for effort. And that was a conversation that we had, and that just made me just realize that knowing everything is working out for my greatest good, knowing that not always being right, or not everything always being perfect, or no mistakes or errors existing is beautiful. To be able to sometimes look at bad, or look at things, or be able to, because pictures are developed in the dark. Well, some pictures are. I mean, I guess that's how. I mean, we have iPhones now, so I guess that's a bit different. But I took a photography course in college, and we had to develop our photos in the darkroom from negatives. And sometimes a photo will be overexposed or underexposed, and it ended up being a beautiful piece from a mistake. I've met people who I love dearly to this day by mistakenly going into the wrong store. So when it comes to life, when it comes to your life, when it comes to elevating your life, you have to be open to all of your experiences, good or bad, mistakes or non-mistakes. There are lessons all around us, and the more we open our eyes up and take the time to understand what's going on around us, understand life, understand people, you'll know that everything has a message. And I just really want you guys to just, whenever things aren't going the way that you want it to go, I just want you to take a deep breath. Just, okay, what's going on here? What is it that is happening right now that is trying to tell me something? What is a lesson in this that I can learn, that I can take with me to either not do it again, to do it differently, or can I tell someone else about this so that way they don't do it? What is it for me to learn? And sometimes it's not going to come right away. Like, you're not going to probably understand a lesson right away. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. It's like something may happen, and then years later, maybe months or something, and then you'll have an aha moment like, that's why that occurred. Oh, I remember when that happened. Like, that is why you have to give yourself grace. That is why, because if you don't give yourself grace and you making mistakes, you're not even allowing the power of making mistakes and the beautiful lessons that's in all of that to even come into your orbit, into your life, because you're beating yourself up, because you're scolding yourself, and you're just blocking yourself from even receiving the lesson. So you have to give yourself grace. It's so important. Give yourself grace. I had to tell myself that this is my third attempt at recording this podcast. I had to give myself grace to not beat myself up for even doing it a third time, because I know that mistakes are inevitable. We have to make them. Some of the greatest things in the world has come from mistakes. Don't let that go over your head. Listen, that's all I got for y'all today. I appreciate y'all. It's okay to make mistakes. Be wise about what you do. Do your research on everything that you want to do, and give yourself grace when things don't go the way that you want it to go. give yourself love and grace when things go the way you want it to go. Remember, life success isn't a straight path. It has its ups and its downs. That's a part of life. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, RealLifeManikin, MANIKIN. I am a fashion and costume designer. You guys can check out my website at www.houseofmanikin.com to get all your fashion needs. I do create custom with my atelier, which is a couture term. But I do create custom. So if you guys are interested in some of my custom work outside of my mannequin brand, please let me know as well. Make sure you guys share this podcast if it resonated with you, or if you got messages and gems from it, or if you know someone who can benefit from this. As always, I thank you so very much. Remember to love yourself, give yourself grace, go out there and make mistakes, good mistakes, and do your best to be the best, okay? I love y'all. Stay blessed.
Yeah, I never needed validation just to wear the crown. You say what? Glamorous, that's heat. No need to see ID. Go ahead and check his feet. I bet you never ever seen nobody made like he. We a mannequin, real legend in them streets. His